either the B or the N, or the D, whichever comes first. The D won't come first.
If I tell you what I'm doing today, will you surely get out of my way? Someone asking what the time is, I don't know, only know I gotta go now. No time trying to get a watch repair, no time, never got a thing to wear. Hear a ringing on the telephone, oh no, hear a ringing in my head now. So such day as tomorrow, only 1, 2, 3, go. Time, time, tick, tick, ticking in my head. Time, time, tick, tick, ticking in my head. Time, time, tick, tick, ticking in my head. Ticking in my head. Ticking in my head. Ticking in my head.
Next stop is Pacific, am I right?
Atlantic, but it connects with Pacific.
Yeah, but you can get other trains there.
Yes, what train do you want?
I'm going up 6th Avenue. I can take the F, I guess.
Oh, no, you can take the, let me just turn this off.
This is a fantastic magazine. I do a lot of airplane traveling. I go from different parts of the country to other parts of the country, and the only thing I find in common is Time magazine. I go up into the airplane, and if I'm worried for any particular moment that the plane may crash, I, in the most comforting and serene fashion, open up Time magazine and become completely pacified. It's the most pacifying periodical I've ever read. The first thing that strikes me about the thing is that I go through cataclysmic events that seem millions of miles away. I always know who the person of the week and then the person of the year is. I mean, it really helps me navigate mentally. And as I read on through all kinds of upheavals, wars, struggles in Angola, conflicts, domestic crises. And then finally, when my plane lands, I close Time magazine and I feel totally sedated. Rarely has history, frankly, I don't know if you share this, but rarely has history seemed to be a TV show, a series that one can expect 52 episodes a week. And in every one of these episodes, what do I find? I find that it's happening to somebody else, not to me. If anyone is overweight, and I'm overweight, they're the ones who are going to get the diabetes, not me. Solace for the pear-shaped under medicine. A woman's figure may figure in diabetes. Thank God they didn't say a man's figure may figure in diabetes. It's relaxing. It's comforting. It's peaceful. And then after you have Poland. What was Poland all about? So that Lech Walesa could get to know us and we could get to know him. Just like in the movie Reds, you know, the Russian Revolution was conducted for one reason, very plainly, and that was for Diane Keaton to discover her identity and purpose in life. I think the essential thing about this magazine is the distance it puts between me and the real world while professing to actually inform me. I have a great deal of information about what happens in the world, presumably, but the only thing is I don't feel anything about it. It's something that happened on a TV screen. It could be an Atari game. I may have wiped out the world, or Time may have wiped out the world. It doesn't make any difference. Time can wipe out the world very easily, and you can still feel that you can step off the plane and engage in whatever business awaits you after an airport trip. So my general impression, basically, of Time is that it's a TV movie, like The Little House on the Prairie, about history. And that together with the television media and together with most of the pictorial media that I'm familiar with, this has a way of actually taking words and turning them into pictures, and then taking the pictures and putting them on a screen, and thereby totally neutralizing the effect of anything that really happens of any significance in the world. The psychology of this magazine is the thing that basically really gets to me. But I had an opportunity to test Time magazine. I went to Europe, and I was actually on the scene where a number of events happened that I later found were described by Time and by other weekly magazines. I refer specifically to what is called the pacifist malaise of Europe. Now, as it turned out, I traveled through Holland, lecturing at universities, northern Belgium, went into southern Germany, Switzerland, and then into Italy. And as I went through all these places, far from finding malaise, I found zealousness, energy, an entire countercultural revolt taking place under my eyes that seemed to be something even more magnificent and sweeping than the 1960s through which I lived. I tried to read Der Spiegel. I had friends translating some of the weekly periodicals in Europe, explaining to me what was going on. I spoke to people all over the place. I was even at the Frankfurt airport where they were building that lane, or trying to build a lane through that pine forest. And then when I came back, I tried to check out the kind of news reports that Time magazine, or for that matter Newsweek, and other periodicals in the United States, in short, the American media, was reporting to the American people. And the thing that really struck me, to an incredible extent, was the fact that everything that I had seen was virtually not reported in Time magazine or not reported in the news media that I had witnessed. There was a total breakdown in the name of communicating things. There was total disjunction, total separation, a total abortion in communication. Where the Germans were supposed to be edging on neo-Nazism because they opposed the Frankfurt aircraft lane or the airport lane, I found, in fact, that people were trying to protect a precious piece of forest land that was so worth redeeming, where squatters were supposed to be moralized, supposed to be enraged, embattled, completely flipped out, completely irresponsible. I found, in fact, people with an almost esoteric and remarkable insight into what constituted free space. They weren't even fighting merely for shelter. They were fighting for something more than that. They were fighting for liberated territory. But if I read Time magazine, there were a bunch of scruffy morons and Neanderthals who had to be cleaned out together with the buildings so that condos could be built in West Berlin to the ever greater glory of the real estate interests and to the ever greater glory of urban planners. That Amsterdam needed a subway. Imagine Amsterdam needing a subway. One of the most beautiful cities in the world. You never want to leave the ground. You don't want to leave the area. Why go underground? They were building a subway. And the young people there were trying to fight that. You'd never know that from Time magazine. You'd never know that the squatters movement and the youth revolt that was going on in Zurich, in Switzerland, was something that had to do with free space, that had to do with a liberated territory in which young people were trying to create their own culture. All I got was the image of savages and barbarians dressed up as skeletons, or trying to bash in windows, or trying to attack savagely American tourists who were benignly wandering around trying to cash in on the American dollar and take all the beautiful photographs for home. The result was that when the plane landed, or when I came back, or whenever I've gone back to visit Time magazine again, I not only feel that I've been put to sleep when I don't know the news, but I find that I'm absolutely aroused by Time when I do know the news. In short, this is not only the little house on the prairie, it's the little house on the Alps, in the Arctic, in Australia. It's the little house everywhere in which these little scheming, whatever you want to call them, sit around and fabricate a history that is about as real as some of the moving pictures that we see today about American life.
We're not buying. I'm not buying. No, nothing at all. So you fucking buy it and have a ball.
Try to put it all together. The essence of time is that it obliterates time. It really destroys time. When I read time, I feel I'm in a timeless world. Every issue is the same. And every issue deals with every problem in the same reactionary, insidious, bland, colorless manner. Suddenly gray is painted on gray. And like a clock, time consists of 52 issues that you carry around that you are supposed to call a year. But actually what you really got are 52 pancakes, all almost identically alike, with the same covers basically, maybe Lech Walesa looking like Dostoevsky for a while, and then having a nice piece of wholesome Americana with bars over its face, having won something in the Super Bowl. It all follows that way. Next week there may be another eruption of Mount St. Helens. And if Mount St. Helens erupts again, another issue has come out. And so when you get to look at it, time makes time disappear. Everything is the same. There is no history. What there basically is an attempt to reclaim both the past, the present, and the future in one simple gray soup. And in that gray soup, without any spice, without any salt, without any flavor, without anything in it, in fact, but a lot of polluted junk, what you really have is time in the same sense that the hands of a clock keep rotating around and give you no message, no perspective, no coordinates, no sense of direction. What time does is relax you in time. It simply permits time, just like a numerical system, turning around 60 times every minute, turning around 60 minutes every hour, to just devour you into some strange space-time continuum. The essence of time is that time destroys the present, the past, and the future. At this point, I understand time is going to come out with a piece on Roosevelt and the Roosevelt era, and I can assure you that I, who lived through that era, will never experience in Time magazine what I experienced in real life, nor will Time in any sense capture anything about that period. What it will merely do is make me think I know it. Not only know it, but make me think I dreamt it. That's the interesting thing. Everything will seem like a strange dream. I think you probably, or I probably, if I wanted to have a kind of endreamed sleep, infused by dreams, while I'm dying, would open up in my last moment Time magazine. And there, looking at introducing Sierra, the only front-wheel drive that's a Cutlass, and watching this man and woman pointing at this marvelous sexual symbol of machismo, feel I have expired, and take that image with me into death. And if there's anything to be remembered after life, if only your last memory is the last picture you have, it will be that dissolved time without future, without present, without past. That, to me, is the essence of time. Just like futurism extends the present into the future and destroys it completely by merely enlarging it, increasing its numbers and population, increasing resources, consumption, without changing anything. Just like 2001 had a hamburger stand. Years from now, up in outer space, Time magazine will be on the rack in a satellite. there to reassure you again, along with the McDonald's hamburger, along with the whatever you can think of, the local Pepsi Cola ad and generation, that we are in a generationless period because everybody's in the Pepsi Cola generation. Everybody eats McDonald's hamburgers, and everybody reads Time. What could be more relaxing? What could be more secure? What could be more alleviating of one's concerns than to read Time, which has made everything timeless and swallowed everything up into a clock?
For most of Time Inc.'s magazines, there are many regional editions in the United States for advertising, not news.
There are international editions, too, in English. During the 1970s, Time Inc., like many corporations, started buying up other corporations, mostly to stabilize and guarantee profits.
When Time Inc. bought the Book of the Month Club in 1977, the Authors Guild members Herman Walk and John Hersey urged the government to halt the sinister process of conglomerate takeover and mergers in publishing, which they said led to sacrificing quality to maximizing profits. A Federal Trade Commission investigation, however, brought no action.
In 1978, Time Inc. bought American Television and Communications Corporation, which operates 125 cable systems in 30 states, the largest cable operator in the U.S.
Time Inc. owns Home Box Office, the cable movie service, which renders service to 70% of the pay TV market, which includes over 6 million subscribers.
And Time Inc. owns Manhattan Cable.
These holdings make video Time Inc.'s fastest growing and most profitable division. On only 15% of Time's revenues, video makes 30% of the corporation's profits.
But Time Life Films hasn't been as profitable. And before it was sold early this year, Time Life made Fort Apache, the Bronx, whose stereotyping and racism enraged local residents. Executives of Time Inc. are white, male, upper crust, except for Joan Manley, now Group Vice President, formerly head of Time Life Books. In 1980, Chief Executive Andrew Heiskell resigned after 20 years. His wife is Marion Sulzberger of New York Times family and Board of Directors. Heiskell was replaced by the head of the video division, Richard Monroe. The other activities of Time Inc. Board of Directors show heavy Fortune 500 and foreign policy involvement. For example, Richard Monroe is also director of IBM. And Frank Pace, former chief of General Dynamics, a major defense contractor, is also a director of Conoco. Donald Perkins, member of ATT Board and Brookings Institute. Martina Horner, president of Radcliffe. James Beret, head of Borg Warner, director of Abbott Labs and Illinois Bell. Hedley Donovan left in 1979 to join his old friend Jimmy Carter in that administration. Of course, Henry Luce III, son of the founder, is still on Time Inc.'s board of directors. Several directors are also members of the Council on Foreign Relations and other influential foreign policy organizations. And then there's Time Inc.'s lawyers, little known but powerful. They got HBO out of paying New York State sales tax. Outside counsel Kravitz, Swain, and Moore, Time's lawyer since Moore married founder Luce's daughter in 1927, also represent IBM and General Dynamics. Most of Time's Washington lawyers used to work for the Justice Department. Now they lobby against federal regulations. They also represent 40 other TV and radio stations, including Standard Oil of Indiana, Western Airlines, and the Satellite Business Systems. That's a little about the conglomerate behind Time magazine.